All right, let's talk Los Angeles Chargers. We are getting closer and closer to the draft, and we've seen some reports and seen some data come out that it looks like the Chargers are using a strategy that should land them a number of massive steals. They're planning a big time move. We'll get into that in just 1 second. But first, on Nick, that is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, lost in the hustle and bustle of this time of year when everyone's focused on the draft is you can take a step back and look at what teams have done over the course of the offseason, and that will usually indicate what their plan is. And sometimes you can look at commentary, and that will tell you as well. And we've got an update on the Chargers that I know you Bolts fans will really appreciate. Let's get into the article first, according to NFL.com. We'll go do some data on the other side. The Los Angeles Chargers did yeoman's work during the free agency, filling many roster gaps. The moves allowed Chargers general manager Joe Ortiz and head coach Jim Harbaugh flexibility during next week's 2025 NFL Draft. You let the board come to you, Ortiz said during his pre-draft press conference on Thursday via the team's official website. You don't feel the pressure, so to speak, that, oh, we've got to address this player. We have to take this position. That's really important there. Remember that. I just don't feel that way because of the way we have spread ourselves out in free agency and adding to the roster and really completing the roster. I think that's the goal. You want to put yourself in a position to be go to draft day and say, we can literally let the board come to us. Interesting grammar there. We can take the best player. All right, so long story short, the Chargers don't have any specific needs. They're just going to take the best player available. That was a Ravens approach, which Joe Ortiz obviously is from. They're known for making a number of massive steals with this approach. Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, the list goes on and on. You could even argue Lamar Jackson, of course. The Ravens were known for finding draft gems, and it looks like the Chargers are taking the same approach. Now, how can they do that? Let's go into our chart here, and this will break down exactly why. This is according to overthecap.com. They did a great job compiling this data. These are the percent snaps that teams lost from 2024 to 2025 based on free agency. And you can see by that big red arrow on the right, the Chargers have one of the fewest percent snaps lost of any team in the NFL. Ignore the negatives. That has to do with like injuries and stuff like that. Teams that had a lot of injuries last year that got healthy. But if you look at the Chargers, based on the moves they have made this offseason, any snaps they essentially lost, they already replaced. What does that mean? Exactly what Ortiz says. They have no explicit needs. They have no dire needs. They addressed all of the biggest needs. Now they can go into the draft and they're set up to take the best player available. What does that usually mean? It usually means you get at least one, if not two, big time steals. The Chargers drafted for need last year. They addressed their big needs this offseason. Now it's time to collect their reward. And then in terms of getting a bunch of high quality players, regardless of position, to put this Chargers team at the next level. All right, Miles, I'm curious your thoughts on that. But first, let's hear from the sponsor of today's video. With the NFL draft right around the corner, there are a lot of hours of preparation really being thrown into right now for one of the biggest nights of the entire season. So when we need to turn to a quick high protein snack, we go to the sponsor of today's video, and that's Magic Spoon.
Yeah, Nick, I think whether it's their cereal or their protein treats, Magic Spoon fits a variety of diets. It's high protein, no sugar, great for carb conscious lifestyles. Magic Spoon is basically your childhood reinvented. It's that same great taste that you remember, but upgraded with grown up ingredients. Magic Spoon treats, they have 11 to 12 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and 1 to 2 grams of carbs. On the other hand, though, Magic Spoon cereal, also very good, 13 to 14 grams of protein, 0 sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs in each serving, so you can feel good about what you're eating. Now, Nick, you go ahead and tell the people about today's offer while I enjoy one of these treats.
Look, use our code SMI or click on the link in the description to try Magic Spoon cereal or treats today. And here's the most important point, you get $5 off. You can also find Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. I know it's right by my Publix. I love it. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product. It's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee online. So if you don't like it for any reason at all, which you won't, you'll love it, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click on the link in the description to go to magicspoon.com/SMI or scan the QR code on the screen if you're big into QR codes for $5 off.
Yeah, Nick, I think the Chargers approach is a very, very interesting approach. Something that, we see not so often, that teams are able to set themselves up in such a way that they aren't really position needy on draft day. And I think it's, you brought up the Ravens. It's a great approach because I think if we, go off of Joe Ortiz being from that background, we look at the Ravens draft history. It's really worked out quite well for them. And I think it's something that's just really important and will really have this team be successful and get a lot of big time playmakers. We see over the last couple of years, let's go all the way back to 2021. In the Ravens in 2021, they had a few needs. They needed another edge rusher. They needed a wide receiver. Still, they had Marquise Hollywood Brown at the time, but it wasn't really working out. They need to get another wide receiver, so they had needs in that draft. They draft Rashad Bateman. They draft Odafe Owe. Those guys are okay. They weren't anything super special, but then that really set them up for the next few years. They were really a team that didn't have a whole lot of needs. We remember 2022, 2023, very strong Ravens teams. What did they draft those years? They get Tyler Linderbaum, they get Kyle Hamilton, two guys who are phenomenal players, Pro Bowlers. They go to the next year. They had receivers. They were able to go get another receiver. They did not have to get one. Zay Flowers becomes available, another guy who lands in the Pro Bowl. So it's gone over the last couple of years. When this team like the Ravens, when they allow themselves to be flexible, to be free, and not have to go out and grab somebody per se, they're able to get players who are really good values at that time. That 2023 draft, there's a lot of great receivers in that draft. So Zay Flowers becoming available, able to grab another receiver, do very, very good. So I think overall, this approach is very, very smart. And I think Joe Ortiz is in that mindset where he comes from the Baltimore Ravens background where he's like, hey, let's let the draft come to us, just like you said. Let's let the players fall, and whoever comes to us, that's who we're going to get. They're the best guy on our board. Let's get the best player available, but truly, regardless of position, grab the best guy that is available if we need them or not. Just so it's great to get superstars in the draft. It's great to get players that can come in and be very, very effective day one rather than, we need an offensive tackle. Let the board come to us. Let's grab the best offensive tackle. Well, that might be the third or fourth best offensive tackle off that board in a certain draft period, and he's just okay. It's not really something good. Whereas if you don't have a positional need, you can let players fall to you. Like a tight end, so to speak, for Baltimore. They did this a while ago with tight ends. They didn't really need one, so they grab Hayden Hurst. He did okay, but also in that same draft, they said, Mark Andrews falls to us. Let's grab him as well. It worked out very, very well. So I think this is a great strategy. I think the Chargers are going to be very happy with the fruit that's going to bear. This is a team that whoever they pick in the first round, I would be excited if I'm a Chargers fan because I think it's a player that's going to contribute day one. It's probably going to be not a super popular position. It's not going to be, a quarterback. It's not going to be one of these, highly touted, deep runs on position groups. They're going to find someone, a position like interior offensive line, like a safety, like someone tight end, positions that aren't necessarily, the most sought after, and get really high level players at those positions, bring in somebody who's going to do a lot of impact for the team. So I think this is a great strategy. I think Joe Ortiz knows exactly what he's doing, and I'm really excited to see what happens come draft night for the Chargers because I think we're going to see a really big day one contributor.
That when we talk about general managers and we talk about team building strategies, we always talk about the comparison, at least on this channel, in terms of investments and financials and things like that, and understanding what teams are trying to do. And if you look at any big entity in the investing, universe and that kind of domain, they're always looking to take advantage of market inefficiencies. And when you have to do something, if you go back to the NFL, if you have to draft a wide receiver, if you have to draft a defensive end, whatever it may be, just because you have no depth, you need somebody. You don't have an opportunity to take advantage of market inefficiencies. You don't have the opportunity to take advantage of a top 10 player that falls to you outside the top 20, right? That's what the Ravens were able to do over the course of those three drafts. And that's why, even though they've had so much churn, the Ravens have lost a lot of players and coaches over the past 3-4 years. They're still really good because they were able to build out their roster with a lot of value plays. And that's exactly what the Chargers are planning to do here in the upcoming NFL draft. Again, when you don't need to do something, you can achieve outside returns. If you look at, again, going back to the investing world, one of the reasons why Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, his company, has been so successful is because they don't have to invest in any particular domain. take like a venture capital company, right? A fund like that. They have to invest if they're in Silicon Valley, right? These tech startups, these flashy companies on the West Coast with apps and software and all this stuff. They have to invest in that, right? If you look at a big company, if you're like a big bank, you have to, if you're looking to throw dollars aside, you have to buy, a smaller bank. You have to buy other financial institutions. You're constrained, right? You're stuck in domains. You have to buy one of those things. Warren Buffett can buy anything he wants. What does that mean? It means he can take advantage of market inefficiencies wherever they may be, whether it's in oil, whether it's in a rail line, whether it's in insurance, it doesn't matter because he doesn't need to buy anything. That's what the Chargers are taking with their approach in this NFL draft. They don't need to buy anything. They don't need to draft a certain position. What does that mean? If there's a great opportunity to draft a player, even if they don't need that position because they don't need anything right now, they can pick up a great player, right? A few years ago when the Ravens drafted Hamilton, a lot of people were like, he's a great player, but no one cares about the safety position anymore. Fast forward 3 years, now a lot of people are really scrambling to fill out the safety position. Kyle Hamilton's an all-pro. You go the next season, oh, they have a good offensive line. They drafted Linderbaum. He's a good player, but they really didn't need offensive line help. Fast forward a few years, the Ravens' offensive line is elite, and Linderbaum's leading the charge, right? You go the next season. Well, they already spent all that capital at wide receiver, Hollywood Brown, Bateman, right? They already have the tight ends. They don't really need a wide receiver this time around. What do? They draft Zay Flowers. Suddenly he becomes a superstar. Again, this is the way to succeed in the NFL draft. If you're constantly drafting for need, you will lose because you're constraining your market. If you have all of your high-level needs addressed, which like we showed on the chart earlier, the Chargers obviously do, you can take advantage of any opportunity that comes your way. I don't know where the Chargers are going to go, but the important thing here is they can go wherever they want, where they feel like they can get the most value. And if you do that in the NFL draft, you will be successful.